Two law enforcement sources confirmed to ABC News, Kira, that Charlie Kirk indeed was shot as he was speaking at an outdoor event at Utah Valley University. You're right, his presence there at the university had divided the campus, according to an article in the school paper, where there were people on both sides debating whether he should even be allowed to bring his message, often loyal to the agenda of President Trump, to campus. But he was speaking at this outdoor event in a courtyard. We've seen some video of that event. A shot rings out. The entire crowd goes scattering.
I am amazed at the qualifications they have to throw out there before merely announcing that someone was assassinated. And that's exactly what had happened. This was ABC News via Newsbusters over at MRC. And Aaron Katersky, who was saying, oh, his presence there, talking about Charlie Kirk's, had divided the campus. What does that have to do? Almost as if they were sort of setting the stage to justify why yesterday happened. Joining me on this, our good friend David Bozell over at Media Research Center, where you can also see newsbusters.org. This is David. I was thinking about this because I had a conversation with your dad last week, because everybody knows we did the MRC event, which was amazing. And your dad was talking about, Brent Bozell was talking about some of the people, the younger conservatives that he met that had made an impression on him. And he was talking about some that hadn't. But then he brought up Charlie Kirk and was saying that Charlie was so naturally inquisitive. And he just gave like a very, warm and genuine insight into kind of how Kirk approached everything with such zeal and such genuine curiousness. And then here a week later, and we have this news. I wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Well, look, Charlie's talent stack was out of sight, out of this world. I was mentioning last night on another network, those of us that have been in the conservative movement, I've been in it, nearly since basically in the womb, given my father. But I've been in it for a long time. You've been in this business for a long time. I can confidently say that all of us in the conservative ecosystem, at one time or another, wished we could do what we do as well as Charlie did what he did. He certainly was the best of us at creating an activist organization, the preeminent activist organization in the conservative movement. He was, one of, if not the best public speakers that we had in our ranks. He combined all of that and started a podcast and then started his family. And had this prolific career. He was the Rush Limbaugh of our time in that respect. I mean, there's always in the different mediums. There's one of one, and then there's everyone else. I mean, Rush was one of one. Charlie in the activist organizations, of all the activist organizations, Charlie was one of one. And he's going to be sorely missed. He's not going to be replaced by one particular individual. We're all going to have to rally together and hopefully combine all of our forces and try to accomplish as much as he has accomplished, and hopefully lead as many young people as he did as well. So his contributions are going to be sorely missed. And my condolences to his family, to his girls. I hope they find peace in the coming weeks and years ahead. I was talking to my staff earlier today. The best ability is availability, and unfortunately for his girls, he's not going to be available for them, and it's just such a tragedy. As it relates to who gets the blame, obviously the investigation is ongoing, but when you look at the Family Research Council attack, a lot of people have sort of glossed over that one.
You're
we
right.
Forget about the Family Research Council attack. When we think of the attempted assassination of President Trump, the attempted assassination of Steve Scalise, the assault on Rand Paul, the assault on Lee Zeldin, the almost near assault on Brett Kavanaugh. There was a man arrested in front of his house with a loaded gun. Time after time after time, it's been the political right that has been either assaulted or an attempted assassination or now killed. And I just think after 30, 40 years of being demonized as just these wretched human beings like we have been by the political left and oftentimes by the liberal media, it's caught up with them. And then since Donald Trump came down the escalator, it's obviously gotten worse. And 30% of the country still believes the media, the legacy media. I call them the upper class media. 30% of the country still believes these guys. And every single night they're calling us Hitler. So this is just the logical manifestation of all of that.
Yeah, you mentioned the media with us. One of the last things that Charlie had tweeted about was assassination culture. And this study that came out that was showcasing how people were justifying violence towards speech. There was a friend that had said, well, the left wants to say that speech is violence so they can justify violence towards speech. This, yeah. I remember it being really bad under George W. Bush, but I feel like this has accelerated lightning speed in the past 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, we've all known someone close to us in our personal lives that have told us to F off for our beliefs, for our votes in the last 2 or 3 election cycles, just for voting for a guy, just for subscribing to a viewpoint, sometimes simply just for proclaiming your faith and attending church and attending mass. The only real, I think you've been asked probably the same thing. What's our response? I think the only Christian American response, and I'm going to take my MRC hat off for a second. The only Christian American response is to crush them at the polls, crush them in election after election after election, and do not let up. And I think that's the proper. We need to stand up and do everything we can at every single level. From when it comes, not just 2028 when Donald Trump leaves office, but 2026 in the midterms, and every state and local and school board election in between. Crush the Democratic Party at the ballot box, and leave no quarter where electoral returns are concerned. Leave no quarter. And I think that's really the only Christian American response at this point. Because I mean, a lot of people are saying, Dana, the Democratic Party has to implode in order for this to go away. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not, but they're not going to implode on their own.
Right.
They're going to have to be defeated at the ballot box.
That's a good point. That's a good way to put it. David Bozell's joining us now for those who are just tuning in with Media Research Center, MRC, newsbusters.org as well. I was looking, because I always look at Newsbusters when I'm doing my stuff, and a lot of video up there of a lot of media malpractice. And I keep thinking, David, I'm like, well, if they don't see how off base they are with this story and this reaction, if this doesn't do it, I don't know that anything ever will.
Yeah, 95%, thereabouts of the coverage last night was measured. There were a number of anchors on the liberal networks that were offering their condolences, and they're essentially Charlie Kirk's political enemies. And I'd say 95% of them were good. Now, fast forward to this morning, CBS and Nate Burleson challenging Kevin McCarthy. This has gone viral. Challenging the former Speaker of the House, wondering if his Republican Party is going to change their rhetoric, the Republican Party's rhetoric, as if the Republican Party's rhetoric was responsible for this. Matthew Dowd, he got fired yesterday from MSNBC. I felt kind of bad for that because he actually tried to apologize, and MSNBC tried to apologize also on his behalf. And I think Charlie, if he were alive, would have accepted that apology and is good, the Christian that he is. But MSNBC fired him nonetheless because his instincts were way off, right? Charlie Kirk is fighting for his life, and Matthew Dowd decides to exclaim that perhaps the reason that Charlie Kirk had a bullet go through his neck was because Charlie Kirk's supporter waved a gun and it accidentally went off. Catherine Turr, same network, MSNBC, to openly speculate that, is President Trump going to use this as a political weapon? It's just your instincts are in the gutter at that point, and these networks need to be overhauled completely. And MSNBC is trying, with this MS Now silliness, but you can't change your stripes overnight. And if you're if you're if you're on the anchor desk, and you've probably been a part of this, Dana, if you're on the anchor desk and you have breaking news, coming in of this magnitude, of this seriousness, your really only job is to sit there and take the breaking news in your ear.
Yep.
Okay, and have the producer read it off to you, and then kick it to someone maybe in the field who may know more than you do. That's it, right? Charlie Kirk's fighting for his life, and Catherine Turr has the temerity to speculate whether or not Donald Trump is going to use this as a political weapon. So for that reason, I just, and for many others, but for that reason alone, MSNBC should consider whether or not they want her on their anchor chairs going forward.
I agree with you. It was all the cuts that I've seen of her speculation. I mean, speechless. My job is to speak, and I was speechless at watching that. Last question for you: is this going to expedite, I think, maybe the demise of, in terms of, I think we're always going to have for a long time the legacy, or as you were saying, the upper class media, but I don't see how their influence continues to rank within the minds of anybody else except their most, the people that are on TikTok or Blue Sky that are celebrating. I think to them, those are the only people that are going to take them seriously or think that they have any influence anymore. How does that weigh in with the rest of America, though? I mean, is this it? Is this the final nail?
Yeah, I've been asked a lot in the last 24 hours if the media are going to change as a result of this. My answer has been no, because of some of the incidents that I just described, from Steve Scalise to Donald Trump. They didn't change then. Now, is a murder going to change them? Maybe, but I doubt it. Look, the political left has declared a jihad against the right wing, and I have no other way of putting it. They would rather see us in the grave than debate us openly in public. But the right needs to understand that this is no time at all to cower. This is no time at all to be silenced. This is no time at all to retreat. We must crush them at the ballot box. And maybe, just maybe, the liberal media would get the message then. Now, these guys are still extraordinarily powerful. They're intertwined with some of the most prolific aggregating search engines in the country: Yahoo, Google, Apple. All these guys, NBC, New York Times, Washington Post, ABC, all these guys are all ingrained into these massive ecosystems. So they're going to be on our devices. They may not be on your televisions because you're not watching them, but they're going to be able to set the narrative because they're reaching millions of people through those means. But the believability has to go down. We cannot have 30% of the country believe these guys anymore. That's got to get down into the teens or less. Got to. They need to be marginalized, and this will probably expedite that. Again, to be fair though, 95% of them have been good, as relates to this. They've treated Charlie's death with respect, but we're counting down the clock. It's just going to take one of them to call us Hitler or fascists again, and then it'll be Katie bar the door all over again. Exactly. And so that could happen anytime.
David Bozell, I love talking with you. I'm so sorry that it had to be with us. This kind of horrific.
My condolences to you, Dana. I know he's a good friend of everybody's, and
everybody knew him. Everybody knew him.
Yeah.
There's not a single person in this movement that did not know him, and you can't really say that about a lot of people. That's pretty extraordinary. Right. We appreciate everything that you and MRC do, and Newsbusters. God bless you guys.
Thanks,
We're so
Dave.
grateful.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You too.
Good to see you,
Thank
my
you.
friend.